This is HOA. Karen gets denied. The keys jingled and her story fell apart. Deborah Mullen waved a bike room key fob in my face and screamed that I used it at the wrong time. "I will not be disrespected," she said, her voice echoing off the clubhouse brick. She planted a bright orange cone on the sidewalk like she owned the block and stepped into my path. Behind her, 3 neighbors slowed their walk and turned to watch. I had no idea what she meant. I live in Pine Hollow, a planned community in Orlando, Florida, where the Pine Hollow Property Owners Association runs every rule like a military drill. Deborah is the neighborhood communications lead, and she treats that title like a federal badge. I work as a warehouse shift lead, so my schedule is all over the place, and I use the bike room whenever my shift ends. She said I was in there at 2 in the morning last Tuesday, and that violates quiet hours. I told her I was at work until 3 and have the punch card to prove it. She said she has witnesses and turned on her heel. That was 3 days ago. This morning, I walked outside and found a tow truck backing up to my car. The driver had the winch halfway down. I ran over and asked what was happening. He said the HOA called it in for unpaid violations. I said I paid everything, pulled up my portal account on my phone and showed him the zero balance. He shrugged and said he just does what dispatch tells him. Deborah appeared from behind a palm tree, arms crossed, and said the tow is for community safety. I asked what that meant. She said I missed a deadline on a compliance notice and they are authorized to remove non-compliant vehicles. I said I never got a notice. She pulled a folded paper from her trench coat pocket and handed it to me. The date stamp said I had 14 days to respond, but the date on the form was 4 days ago. I pointed that out. She said the deadline was extended and I should have checked the portal. I checked the portal right there. No extension. No updated notice. She said I must have missed it and walked away. The tow driver looked at me and said he would give me 10 minutes to sort it out. I called the management company. The line rang 6 times and went to voicemail. I called back. Same thing. Deborah stood 20 feet away, arms still crossed, watching. I walked over and asked her to call off the tow until I could reach someone at the office. She said I can make this official with 1 phone call and held up her own phone like a threat. I said I was not fighting. I just wanted to fix the problem. She said the problem is I do not follow the rules and I am making the community unsafe. I asked how my car made anyone unsafe. She said she has video of me near other vehicles at night and multiple residents reported items missing from their cars. I felt my stomach drop. She was accusing me of theft. I said that was insane. She said the evidence speaks for itself and the regional supervisor is only in town today, so if I wanted to contest it, I had 1 chance to get eyes on the file. She turned and walked toward the clubhouse. I told the tow driver I would be right back and jogged after her. She did not slow down. I caught up and asked where the video was. She said it is on file and I would see it when the time was appropriate. I asked when that would be. She said that depends on how cooperative I am. I asked what she wanted. She said she wanted me to admit I was in the bike room after hours and pay the fine so we could all move on. I said I was not admitting to something I did not do. She stopped walking and turned around. She said I have witnesses, and if I kept pushing, she would escalate to the management company regional supervisor and I would be dealing with lawyers. Then, she walked inside. I stood there on the walkway, trying to process what just happened. The tow driver honked. I waved and ran back. He said his 10 minutes were up. I asked if I could pay him to leave the car. He said the HOA already paid the dispatch fee, and if he left without the car, they would bill me double. I asked how much. He said $300 now or $600 later. I did not have $300 in cash. I asked if he took card. He said cash only. I asked him to wait 5 more minutes while I hit an ATM. He sighed and said he would give me 3. I sprinted to my car, grabbed my wallet, and drove to the nearest bank. I pulled $300 out, drove back, and handed it over. He unhooked my car and left. Deborah stood on the clubhouse steps, watching the whole thing. She did not say a word. She just smiled. I went inside and called my landlord. I rent a townhouse here, and I was terrified this would spiral into a lien or some mess that dragged them into it. My landlord said they had not heard anything from the HOA and told me to document everything. I said I would. I hung up and pulled up the HOA portal on my laptop. I wanted to see if there was any record of the tow or the compliance notice. There was nothing. No new notices, no messages, no updates. I took screenshots of everything. Then I checked my email. Still nothing. I opened my text messages. Nothing there either. I grabbed the paper Deborah gave me and looked at it again. The date stamp said I had until yesterday to respond, but the notice was dated 4 days ago. That was only 10 days. The paper said 14. The math did not work. I took a photo of the notice with my phone, making sure the date and the deadline were both visible in the frame. I needed help. I texted my neighbor Marcus, who runs the community watch group. Marcus has lived here for 6 years and is fed up with the HOA nonsense. He responded in under a minute and said to come over. I walked 2 buildings down and knocked. He opened the door holding a coffee mug and waved me in. I showed him the notice. He read it, frowned, and said the date is definitely wrong. I told him about the tow and the theft accusation. He set the mug down and said Deborah has been pulling stunts like this for months. He said she changed the bike room access rules 3 times last year and never updated the portal. He said she also tried to fine him for parking in a guest spot when his own spot was blocked by a moving truck. I asked if he won that fight. He said he had to escalate to the management company and it took 2 months. I asked Marcus if he knew anything about the theft accusations. He said he heard someone talking about missing mail and a few car break-ins last month, but no one ever said my name. I asked if Deborah was involved. He said she is always involved. He said she shows up at every community event with her rolling file cart and acts like she is running a courtroom. I asked if anyone else had video of me near the cars. He said he did not think so, but the clubhouse has exterior cameras and the mail kiosk has one too. I asked who controlled those. He said the management company owns the footage, but Deborah is listed as the HOA contact for security requests. That made my stomach turn. If Deborah was the gatekeeper, she could show whatever she wanted and hide the rest. Marcus said I should request the full footage directly from the management company and not go through Deborah. I said I tried calling them twice this morning and got voicemail. He said the regional supervisor is only in town today, and that was my shot. I asked where the office was. He said it is in a strip mall about 15 minutes south. I thanked him and left. I drove to the management office and walked in. The front desk had one woman on the phone and another typing at a computer. I waited. The one on the phone hung up and asked how she could help. I said I needed to speak to the regional supervisor about a compliance issue and a theft accusation. She asked for my address. I gave it. She typed, frowned, and said there were no open cases on file for that address. I said that was the problem. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo of the notice with the wrong date. She looked at it, then looked at her screen, and said she did not see that notice in the system. I asked if Deborah Mullen filed it. She said Deborah files a lot of things, but this one was not showing up. I asked if I could speak to the supervisor anyway. She said he was in a meeting and would not be free for another hour. I said I would wait. I sat down in the lobby and opened my phone. I wanted to see if there was any portal activity I missed. I logged in and checked the message history. Still nothing. I checked the violation log. Nothing. I went back to the main page and noticed a small timestamp at the bottom of the screen. It said last updated 2 hours ago. I clicked on it. A drop-down appeared with a list of recent changes. The top entry said notice deleted. I clicked it. A pop-up appeared with a message that said insufficient access to view details. I took a screenshot. Then I went back and checked the list again. 3 other entries said notice deleted, all from this week. I took screenshots of those too. The desk woman called my name. I walked over. She said the supervisor could see me for 5 minutes. I followed her down a hallway to a small office. A man in a polo shirt sat behind a desk covered in binders and paperwork. He did not stand up. He said he heard I had a complaint about Deborah. I said it was more than a complaint. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots of the deleted notices. He leaned forward and squinted at the screen. I explained that Deborah tried to tow my car this morning based on a notice I never received, and the portal showed multiple notices had been deleted this week. He asked if I had proof Deborah deleted them. I said she is the only one who files for my building. He said that did not prove anything. I asked if he could pull the full audit log. He said that required a formal records request and took 5 business days. I said the deadline she gave me was yesterday and I did not have 5 days. He said he could look into it, but he needed something more concrete than a timestamp. I asked about the theft accusation. He frowned and said he had not heard anything about that. I told him Deborah said she had video of me near other vehicles at night and that residents were reporting missing items. He said if there was a police report, he would have seen it. I asked if Deborah filed one. He said not that he knew of. I asked if I could see the security footage from the clubhouse and mail kiosk. He said footage requests went through the HOA contact, which was Deborah. I said that was the problem. He said he understood, but his hands were tied unless I filed a formal complaint. I asked how long that took. He said 2 weeks minimum. I said that was insane. He said it was policy. I left. I sat in my car in the parking lot and tried to think. Deborah had control of the footage, control of the notices, and control of the narrative. If I waited 2 weeks, she would bury everything. I needed proof now. I pulled up the county property appraiser website on my phone and searched for the clubhouse address. The security camera vendor was listed in the building permit notes. I wrote down the name and called them. A man answered and said he could not release footage without authorization from the property manager. I said I was a resident and needed footage for a legal issue. He said he still needed written authorization. I asked if the authorization had to come from the HOA contact. He paused and said technically it could come from the management company directly, but they usually deferred to the HOA contact. I asked if he could check if Deborah had requested any footage in the last week. He said he could not discuss client requests. I thanked him and hung up. I needed a different angle. I drove back to the neighborhood and parked near the mail kiosk. The camera was mounted on a pole about 8 feet up, angled down toward the mailbox cluster. I got out and walked over. I pulled out my tiny flashlight and pointed it at the camera lens, just to see if it was active. A red light blinked. It was on. I stepped to the side and looked at the angle. The camera covered the mailboxes and the walkway, but it also covered part of the guest parking area. If Deborah had video of me near the cars, it probably came from this camera. I took a photo of the angle with my phone, making sure the camera, the mailboxes, and the guest spots were all visible in one frame. I walked back to my car and sat down. I opened my photos and looked at the shot I just took. The camera angle showed the mailboxes on the left and the guest spots on the right. If someone was standing in the guest spots at night, the camera would catch them. But the angle also meant it would catch anyone walking between the mailboxes and the clubhouse, which was the main path everyone used. If Deborah had a video of me walking that path at night, it did not prove I was near the cars. It just proved I walked home. I needed to see the full video, not just a cropped still. I called Marcus again. He answered on the first ring. I told him I needed a favor. I asked if he had any contacts at the management company who might pull the footage without going through Deborah. He said he knew one of the maintenance guys who worked for the vendor, but the guy would not risk his job unless there was a good reason. I said the reason was Deborah was framing me for theft and deleting records to cover it up. Marcus was quiet for a second, then said he would make a call. 20 minutes later, Marcus texted me. He said the maintenance guy would meet me at the clubhouse in an hour and would pull the last 2 weeks of footage from the mail kiosk camera, but I had to bring a USB drive and I could not mention his name to anyone. I said deal. I drove to a drugstore, bought a USB drive, and headed back. The maintenance guy met me at the side door of the clubhouse. He was in his 20s, wore a work shirt with the vendor logo, and looked nervous. He said he had 15 minutes before his supervisor called him back. I handed him the USB drive. He plugged it into a laptop inside the security closet and started downloading files. I asked if Deborah had requested any footage recently. He said she requested a clip 2 days ago from the mail kiosk camera, but she only asked for a 30-second window. I asked what time. He said 11:45 at night last Tuesday. I said that was the night she accused me of being in the bike room. He nodded. I asked if he saw the clip. He said he did. I asked what it showed. He said it showed me walking from the guest parking area toward the townhouses. I asked if I was near any cars. He said no, I was on the walkway the whole time. I asked if she got the full angle or just a cropped version. He said she told him to crop it to just show me in the timestamp. He said he thought it was weird, but she was the HOA contact and he did not ask questions. I asked if the full footage was on the drive. He said yes, everything from the last 2 weeks. I thanked him. He said if anyone asked, he did not give me anything. I said understood. He unplugged the drive, handed it to me, and left. I went back to my car and plugged the USB drive into my laptop. I opened the folder and found about 50 video files, each labeled with a date and time. I scrolled to last Tuesday at 11:45. I opened the file. The video showed me walking from the direction of the guest spots, but I was on the sidewalk, not in the parking area. I was carrying my work bag and heading toward my building. The timestamp matched. I kept watching. About 10 seconds later, a figure appeared from the left side of the frame, walking toward the guest spots. The figure was wearing a tan trench coat and a gray bucket hat. I paused the video. It was Deborah. I zoomed in. She was carrying a shopping bag. I kept playing. She walked to a car in the guest spots, looked around, opened the door, leaned inside for about 20 seconds, then closed the door and walked away. She was not running. She was casual, like she had every right to be there. I went back and replayed it 3 times. Every time it was the same. Deborah was the one near the cars, not me. I checked the other files. I found 2 more clips from the week before showing her near the same guest spots, both times late at night, both times carrying something. In one clip, she was holding a small box. In another, she was holding a keyring. I took screenshots of each clip, making sure the timestamp and her face were visible. I called Marcus and told him what I found. He said that was gold. I said I needed to figure out what she stole. He said the community watch group kept a log of complaints, and he could pull it. I asked him to send it over. He said he would text it in 5 minutes. I waited. The text came through. The log listed 6 complaints in the last month. 4 were about missing mail. 2 were about items taken from cars. One of those was a set of HOA pool keys on a lanyard. The other was a phone charger and some loose change. I looked at the screenshots again. The keyring Deborah was holding in the second video looked exactly like the pool key lanyard. I zoomed in as far as I could. It was a lanyard. No readable text, but the shape matched. I needed to figure out where she stashed everything. If she was stealing, she had to be keeping it somewhere. I drove back to the clubhouse and parked. I walked around the building looking for storage closets or utility rooms. The main entrance had a bulletin board and a package locker area. I checked the lockers. Nothing unusual. I walked around to the side entrance. There was a small storage closet near the bike room. The door was locked. I tried the handle anyway. Nothing. I stepped back and looked at the door. It had a key card reader. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the door and the reader. I texted Marcus again and asked if the storage closet was HOA controlled or vendor controlled. He said it was HOA controlled and only board members had access. I asked if Deborah had access. He said probably, since she filed all the access requests. I asked if there was any way to check the logs for that door. He said the access system kept logs, but they were stored on the management company server. I asked if the maintenance guy could pull those. Marcus said he would ask, but it was a bigger risk. 10 minutes later, Marcus called me. He said the maintenance guy would not pull the access logs, but he did say Deborah used the storage closet at least twice last week, both times late at night. I asked how he knew. Marcus said the guy saw her coming out of the closet when he was doing a late-night repair. He said she had a cardboard box and looked annoyed when she saw him. I asked if the guy remembered what was in the box. Marcus said no, but he said it looked heavy. I needed to get inside that closet. I could not break in. That would make everything worse. I needed a legitimate reason to access it. I called the management office again and asked if I could request an inspection of the storage closet for a maintenance issue. The woman on the phone said inspections required a board member to be present. I asked who the board members were. She listed 3 names. Debra was one of them. I said I wanted someone else. She said the other 2 were out of town. I asked when they would be back. She said next week. I said that was too late. She said there was nothing she could do. I hung up. I sat in my car and tried to think. If I could not get into the closet, I needed to catch Debra using it. I needed to be there when she opened the door. I checked the time. It was almost 6. I decided to wait. I parked in a spot with a view of the side entrance and settled in. I kept my phone camera ready. If you are enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more HOA nightmares. An hour passed. Nothing. Another hour. Still nothing. At 8:30, I saw movement near the side entrance. Debra walked up to the door, looked around, and pulled out a key card. She swiped it, and the door opened. She stepped inside. I grabbed my phone, got out of my car, and jogged over. I stayed close to the wall and peeked around the corner. The storage closet door was open. Debra was inside, pulling a plastic tote off a shelf. I hit record on my phone and zoomed in as much as I could. She opened the tote and pulled out a stack of envelopes. Mail. She flipped through them, took 2, and put the rest back. Then she pulled out a lanyard with keys. Pool keys. She stuffed the lanyard into her coat pocket, closed the tote, and put it back on the shelf. I kept recording. She turned, stepped out, and closed the door. I ducked back around the corner and stopped recording. I waited until she walked away, then I checked the video. It was shaky, but it showed her opening the tote, pulling out mail, and pocketing the keys. It was enough. I had proof she stole the pool keys and was hoarding mail. I just needed to figure out how to use it without getting accused of trespassing or invasion of privacy. I called Marcus again. He said I should go to the police and file a report. I said I was not sure the police would care about stolen mail and pool keys. He said mail theft is a federal crime and they would definitely care. I said I would think about it. I drove home and sat on my couch. I plugged the USB drive back into my laptop and watched all the footage again. I had Debra on camera near the cars. I had her on camera in the storage closet. I had screenshots of the deleted notices. I had the compliance notice with the wrong date. I had the video of her stealing mail and keys. It was a mountain of evidence, but I still needed to clear my name publicly. If I just went to the police, Debra would spin it like I was retaliating. I needed to confront her in front of witnesses and force her to admit it, or at least force her to look guilty enough that people would believe me. I texted Marcus and asked if there were any community events coming up. He said there was a neighborhood safety meeting tomorrow night at the clubhouse. Debra was hosting it. I said that was perfect. He said he would be there. I asked if he could bring the complaint log. He said yes. I told him I had a plan. The next night, I showed up at the clubhouse at 6:50. The meeting started at 7. About 20 residents were already there, sitting in folding chairs facing a podium. Debra stood behind the podium, shuffling papers on a clipboard. She saw me walk in, and her face tightened. I sat in the back row. Marcus sat 2 chairs over and gave me a small nod. Debra started the meeting right at 7. She said the purpose was to discuss recent security concerns and theft reports. She said the HOA was taking the matter seriously and working with law enforcement. I waited. She clicked a remote and a projector screen lit up. A blurry image appeared. It was a still frame from the mail kiosk camera. It showed me walking on the sidewalk at night. She said this was taken last Tuesday at 11:45 and multiple residents reported missing items from their vehicles that same night. She said the HOA had reason to believe I was involved. A few people turned and looked at me. I stayed calm. Debra said the HOA was considering further action, including possible suspension of my access privileges. I raised my hand. She ignored me. I stood up. She said this was not the time for questions. I said it was absolutely the time for questions, because she was accusing me of theft in front of the entire community. Debra said she had witnesses. I said she had a crop still that did not show the full story. I pulled out my phone and held it up. I said I had the full video and it showed her walking toward the cars, not me. She said that was ridiculous. I said I also had video of her stealing mail and pool keys from the storage closet. The room went silent. Deborah's face went red. She said I was lying and that I was trespassing if I recorded her without permission. I said I recorded her from a public area and the closet door was open. She said she would have me removed. I said she could try, but first I wanted to play the video for everyone. Marcus stood up and said he wanted to see it too. 2 other residents said the same thing. Deborah said the meeting was not a courtroom and we needed to follow procedure. I said the procedure was not to accuse people of crimes without proof. I walked to the front, pulled up the video on my phone, and handed it to Marcus. He plugged it into the projector. The room watched. The video showed Deborah walking toward the guest parking area, opening a car door and leaning inside. Then it showed her in the storage closet, pulling out mail and pocketing keys. When it ended, the room was dead quiet. Deborah said the video was taken out of context and I was trying to frame her. I said the timestamps did not lie and she was the one near the cars, not me. A woman in the front row stood up and said she filed one of the theft reports and her mail was missing. She asked Deborah if she took it. Deborah said she did not. The woman said the video looked pretty clear. Another man said he reported the missing pool keys and he wanted them back. Deborah said she did not have them. I said I had her on video pocketing them. She said I was harassing her. Marcus stood up and said he had the complaint log and every theft report matched the nights Deborah was on camera near the cars or in the closet. He handed the log to the woman in the front row. She read it and passed it around. Deborah grabbed her rolling file cart and said she was not going to stand there and be attacked. She tried to leave. The man who lost the pool keys stood up and blocked the door. He said she needed to return the keys before she left. Deborah said she did not have them. He said then she needed to let someone check the storage closet. She said that required board approval. He said 2 board members were in the room and they could approve it right now. One of the other residents, a woman named Linda, stood up and said she was on the board and she approved an immediate inspection. Deborah said Linda did not have the authority. Linda said she absolutely did, and if Deborah refused, she would call the police. Deborah's face went pale. She said this was all a misunderstanding, and if people would just calm down, she could explain. The man at the door said he was calm and he wanted his keys. Deborah reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the lanyard. She tossed it on the floor. The man picked it up and said it was his. The room erupted. People started yelling at Deborah, asking what else she stole and why she framed me. She said I have witnesses and no one was listening to her side. I said her side was recorded and everyone just watched it. Linda said she was calling the management company and the police. Deborah said that was not necessary. Linda pulled out her phone and dialed. Deborah grabbed her cart and tried to push past the man at the door. He did not move. She said she would have him arrested for false imprisonment. He said he was not imprisoning anyone. He was just standing in a doorway. Linda got through to the management office and put the call on speaker. The regional supervisor answered. Linda explained what happened and said she needed immediate action. The supervisor said he would send someone over and asked if the police were involved. Linda said she was calling them next. He said he would handle it and asked if Deborah was still there. Linda said yes. He asked to speak to her. Linda held the phone out. Deborah refused to take it. The supervisor said he could hear the room and Deborah needed to step outside and wait for him. Deborah said this was a witch hunt. The supervisor said if she did not cooperate, he would terminate her access to all HOA systems immediately. That got her attention. She grabbed the phone and said she was not going anywhere until her attorney was present. The supervisor said that was her choice, but her access was suspended as of that moment. He hung up. The room was chaos. People were shouting questions at Deborah, demanding to know what else she took and why she did it. Deborah said she was being railroaded and none of this would hold up. I said the video would absolutely hold up, and I also had proof she deleted notices from the portal to cover her tracks. I pulled out my phone and showed the screenshots of the deleted entries. Linda looked at them and said that was fraud. Deborah said I was making that up. Linda said the timestamps were right there and the management company could verify it with an audit log. Deborah said the audit log would not show anything. I said it would show exactly when the notices were deleted and who deleted them. Deborah said I was bluffing. Linda said she was requesting a full audit and if Deborah deleted anything, it would show up. A deputy sheriff arrived about 10 minutes later. Linda explained the situation and handed over the complaint log, the video, and the pool keys. The deputy took notes and asked Deborah if she wanted to make a statement. She said she wanted her attorney. The deputy said that was fine, but he needed to take a report. He asked if anyone else witnessed the thefts. 3 residents raised their hands and said they saw her near their cars or in the storage closet at odd hours. The deputy said he would file a report and the state attorney would review it. He asked Deborah if she had anything else in her possession that did not belong to her. She said no. He asked if he could search her cart. She said he needed a warrant. He said he did not need a warrant if she consented. She said she did not consent. He said that was her right, but he was noting her refusal in the report. He finished writing and said someone from the state attorney's office would contact her. Then he left. The regional supervisor showed up about 20 minutes later. He was the same man I met at the office. He looked exhausted. He asked Linda for a summary. She gave him one. He looked at Deborah and said she was suspended from all HOA duties pending an internal investigation. Deborah said he could not do that. He said he absolutely could, and just did. He said her access to the portal, the vendor systems, and the clubhouse would be terminated tonight. He pulled out a laptop and logged in right there. He said he was documenting everything and Deborah would receive a formal notice in the mail. Deborah said she would sue. He said she was welcome to try. He closed the laptop and said the meeting was over. Deborah grabbed her cart and stormed out. The room erupted in applause. I just sat down. I was exhausted. Marcus walked over and clapped me on the shoulder. He said I did good. I said I just wanted my name cleared. He said it was cleared and then some. Linda walked over and apologized for not stepping in sooner. She said she knew Deborah was difficult, but she did not realize she was stealing. I said it was not her fault. She said the HOA was going to update the access control rules and add an audit requirement for all notices. She said what Deborah did was inexcusable and the board would make sure it did not happen again. I thanked her. The next day, the management company emailed me a formal apology and a refund for the tow fees and the compliance fine I paid. They also said the HOA was implementing a preservation of records policy that required all notices to be archived for 2 years and any deletions to be logged and approved by 2 board members. They said Deborah's access had been permanently revoked and she was no longer affiliated with the HOA in any capacity. They said if I had any other concerns, I should contact them directly. I did not have any other concerns. I was done. The neighborhood was quiet for a few weeks. Then I heard through Marcus that Deborah moved out. No one knew where she went. No one cared. The HOA hired a new communications lead who actually answered emails and did not threaten to tow people for imaginary violations. The storage closet was inventoried and they found 2 more totes full of mail, packages, and random items Deborah had taken over the last year. Everything was returned to the rightful owners. The police report moved forward and the state attorney filed charges for mail theft and petite larceny. I never heard what happened after that. I did not need to. My name was clear. My car was safe. My access worked. That was enough. I still see the bright orange cone sometimes, sitting in the corner of the clubhouse supply closet. No one ever moves it. I think people leave it there as a reminder. A reminder that no one is above the rules, not even the people who enforce them. A reminder that evidence does not lie. A reminder that if you push someone far enough, they will push back. And sometimes, they will win. Another HOA story is coming soon.